5 News at Noon starts now.
Lawmakers grill Arkansas prison officials about the escape of convicted killer Grant Hardin. Coming up, new information on how Hardin did it and how 2 prison employees have since been fired. And President Trump travels to Texas in the aftermath of the devastating floods. We'll have what the administration is saying about future plans for FEMA. Well, thank you for joining us for your 5 News at Noon. I'm Morgan Wrigley here with Danny Cassidy. And we were just saying there's a blue sky today.
Yes.
Pretty nice outside, pretty hot outside. No Toy Story clouds. We don't think they made the cut today.
No Toy Story clouds making the cut today. There's actually more blue sky because a little bit drier air in the atmosphere. So we're seeing more of that blue, more of that sunshine. And for some of you might be like, that's great. For me, that are really pale and would turn red at the sight of sun. And maybe not so much, but we're seeing plenty of that blue sky across the region. And there are still a few puffy cumulus out there, but notice how flat they are, like pancakes. Usually those taller clouds, a little bit more moisture in them. These are pretty flat, so the air is pretty dry all across the board. You might notice a slight hue in the clouds. We do have a little bit of Saharan dust elevated, but the good news is most of us are okay air quality. It's at moderate across the region. Not necessarily the best. We want the green good. You can see that there in Fort Smith, a portion of the River Valley. But the good news is it could be a lot worse, and it's certainly on the okay side. Now, it is another hot one out there. Those feels like in the mid to upper 90s, a couple of hundreds there in Boonville and Clarksville. So it's just slightly cooler than yesterday, not by much, slightly cooler though. And that's going to keep us just below the heat advisory, but still going to feel pretty hot. Now that feels like will eventually drop for Saturday and especially Sunday and Monday because those rain chances are going to be elevated for Sunday and Monday, especially starting tomorrow as well for Northwest Arkansas, then tapering off next week. But those rain chances could be heavy and maybe leading to some localized flash flooding. So we'll talk further about that chance coming up in your full forecast. Morgan.
Thanks, Danny. Well, we're learning today that Dr. Brian Hyatt did not appear in court today as previously scheduled. Hyatt was arrested on July 3rd for a DWI, all while he waits judgment in an ongoing Medicaid fraud case. A judge's note filed today indicates his appearance in Pulaski County Circuit Court for a bond condition hearing was waived, and the matter is set to be reset. So far, court records online do not show the new date for the hearing. Earlier this week, Hyatt's attorney filed a motion to seal their response on the prosecution's motion to revoke Hyatt's bond. Now, day 2 of a double homicide trial is underway in Van Buren. The prosecution is continuing to call forward witnesses in the case against Cooper Wesley, the 27-year-old accused of shooting and killing 2 men in November of 2023. So far this morning, a paramedic has testified that one of the victims, Donald Lewis, was already dead when emergency services arrived on the scene. Marley Horton, an evidence custodian for the Crawford County Sheriff's Department, showed the clothing that Cooper was allegedly wearing the day of the murders, featuring a black and white Punisher t-shirt. We'll continue to bring updates on the trial as they become available from the courthouse. Well, President Trump visits Texas today in the wake of the flooding tragedy. The White House is now saying the government will help Texas in any way possible. The trip comes with letters still going out to U.S. trading partners threatening tariffs, the latest to Canada. Natalie Brand has more details from the White House.
President Trump and the First Lady headed to Texas to tour the flood devastation and meet with first responders and families of victims.
It's a horrible thing, a horrible thing. Nobody can even believe it, such a thing. That much water that fast.
This week, the president has avoided talking about plans announced last month to phase out the Federal Emergency Management Agency.
It's extremely expensive. And again, when you have a tornado or a hurricane or you have a problem of any kind, in a state, that's what you have governors for. They're supposed to fix those problems.
We asked OMB Director Russ Vought if that's still the administration's plan.
The president has said to Texas it needs anything it needs, it will get. We also want FEMA to be reformed. We want FEMA to work well. And, the president is going to continue to be asking tough questions of all of his agencies.
The Trump administration also continues to send out tariff letters this week, with one now out to one of the largest trading partners, threatening a 35% levy on Canadian goods.
Prime Minister Mark Carney on social media said the Canadian government has steadfastly defended our workers and businesses. We will continue to do so as we work towards the revised deadline of August 1st.
The baseline will take effect the 1st of August, but obviously, as the president's made clear, there are opportunities for adjustments based on arrangements that could be made between now and then.
Amid global trade tensions, Secretary of State Marco Rubio met in person with his Chinese counterpart for the first time.
I thought it was a very constructive and positive meeting.
Rubio said the odds are high that President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping could hold face-to-face talks soon. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
As President Trump plans to visit Central Texas, the number of lives lost in that catastrophic flooding has now hit over 120. Around 170 people are still missing, and now questions and concerns swirl around delayed or non-existent emergency alerts. The Kerr County Sheriff said Wednesday a response timeline will come, an answer some flood survivors say they already know.
I didn't have any alerts until the water was already inside the house.
There was no advance warning.
Texas's governor says state lawmakers will hold a special legislative session later this month to discuss flood warning systems, emergency communications, and a victims relief fund. Multiple sources say Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem didn't authorize FEMA's deployment of urban search and rescue teams until Monday, more than 72 hours after the flooding began. Well, now to a developing story out of Lavaca, where one person is dead after a shooting. This is video taken by a viewer after police got to the home on Highway 96. Police found a victim who was shot. They were then taken to the hospital and pronounced dead. Police tell us they do have a person of interest at this hour, but no arrests have been made. Names of those involved have also not been released. We're going to continue to following the updates and bring you the latest right here on 5 News. Well, Arkansas lawmakers put the Department of Corrections in the hot seat, pressing for every detail that led to the escape of convicted killer Grant Hardin. 2 Calico Rock prison employees have been fired. Board of Corrections Chairman Benny Magnus called it human error. One worker allegedly let Hardin out unsupervised. Another in the tower let him through the gate without checking his ID. Lawmakers also grilled Magnus about how Hardin got his makeshift uniform.
Available to him a black marker, regular black marker, and that's how he dyed his clothes to make it look dark. I did actually see the little badge that he made out of a soup can.
Meanwhile, lawmakers questioned why a criminal convicted of rape and murder was at a medium security unit and why he was allowed to work in the kitchen. Magnus said Hardin's classification was based on his original sentence, 30 years for first-degree murder, making him eligible under policy. A review of the escape is still ongoing and more changes could be on the way. Well, in Fort Smith, there is a lawsuit against the city alleging a violation of Freedom of Information Act laws. It accuses the city of not immediately providing records related to communications between the state and the city about Franklin County Prison's construction. City Administrator Jeff Dingman is also named in the lawsuit. According to the plaintiff's attorney, they submitted a request for the communication, but the city initially claimed those documents did not exist, then attempted to make it appear as though the request hadn't been received until days later, after the deadline set under FOIA had already passed. Well, the Attorney General of Arkansas has announced he will push state law enforcement to enforce loitering laws against panhandlers. Carter Thweet was at the state capitol and has more.
We are people who like to help people in need. Having said that, we also are a people who love, we want things to be orderly and proper.
Attorney General Tim Griffin is asking law enforcement to crack down on loitering.
It's against the law. We're here to help people understand the law, and it's going to stop.
At one time, state law prohibited loitering and panhandling, but that changed in 2017 when a federal court ruled panhandling a First Amendment right.
If we love the law, we don't just love it when it favors us. We have to stand by it. And I love the First Amendment.
Fast forward to 2023, when lawmakers passed a new loitering law, focused less on what a person is doing and more on where they're doing it. According to that law, a person on sidewalks and roadways cannot linger in a threatening manner in a way likely to cause alarm or create a traffic hazard.
The problem is not the content of their message, whether you like it or not. The problem is the safety issue. This is a public safety issue.
Little Rock Vice Mayor B.J. Wyrick agrees.
There are people that are standing on little small medians, less than 2 feet wide, and they have signs and they're stopping traffic. It's a safety issue.
She says she's following Griffin's example and plans to pursue the same thing here in the capital city.
Our first step in the city is to approve the ordinance, and then the second part of the ordinance would be for our enforcement from police department.